So now, without any further ado, I'm gonna hand it to our first speaker, Modula from the National Institute of Mental Health and Neuroscience in Bangalore, India. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and then hand it over to Modula.
Thank you. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, I can see your PowerPoint.
All right.
Yep, perfect.
Here we go. Fine. So I'll just hide this for a minute so that it will be more visible. Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank the Neuromath conference organizers for giving me this wonderful opportunity for presenting my pilot study, which is a part of my PhD study. So I'm working on adult ADHD. The alcohol addiction is also having other comorbidities like substance abuse. So one of the important and the most deliberating one is the adult ADHD. So ADHD is highly heritable and the most common neurodevelopmental disorder in childhood, which persists into the adolescence and adulthood, which we call it as adult ADHD. So in very young children, it's predominantly hyperactive impulsive type. Middle childhood, it's predominantly inattentive type. Whereas in late adolescence and adulthood, there will be a combined emotional lability and decline in hyperactivity. So in children with ADHD, 15% continue to meet the criteria for adult ADHD by the age of 24 years, whereas 50% meet the criteria of adult ADHD in partial remission with subthreshold symptoms causing the impairment. In the patients with early onset alcohol dependency disorder, the adult ADHD is seen as an endophenotype. So we know alcohol is the most commonly used mood-altering drug worldwide, and alcohol use disorder is a complex and heterogeneous disease which consists of alcohol dependency and abuse. So the alcohol use disorder is mainly of two basic phenotypes. We call it as early onset and late onset. So in India, there is a higher prevalence of adult ADHD in patients with early onset alcohol use disorder. So I was like interested to work on this. And the prevalence of adult ADHD with substance abuse or disorder is around 20 to 50%. So what are the main effects that alcohol and is having on the body? So when we look into the cardiac autonomic dysfunction, so alcohol has a compared to the molecular and also the physiologically, it's very much causing damage to the cardiac system, the cardiac autonomic dysfunction. And in our lab, they also looked into the offsprings who are exposed to this alcohol addiction in the parents also developed cardiac abnormality as an endophenotype. So they published some of the papers in our lab, which also talks about nearly 26% of the study population with alcohol dependency have abnormal cardiovascular reflexes. So the coming to the other abnormality associated with alcohol is cognitive dysfunction. We know the frontocerebellar circuitry is the one which is majorly affected, causes the dysfunction in the alcohol use disorder. So let it be in children or in adults or adolescents, this atomic dysfunction, dysregulation is very much the core symptom of inattention. So with the basic intro, I would like to move on to what methodology would be liking to work on this. First, we will be going in a stepwise manner, like we will be taking the socio-demographic details, alcohol timeline, follow back assessment, ADHD RS4 with adult prompts and quality of life enjoyment satisfaction scales. And basically the study groups are divided into three: patients with alcohol use disorder and adult ADHD. Group 2 will be the patients with alcohol use disorder per se, and 3 will be the group matched healthy volunteers for the general population. And study with the study population, patients will be admitted, recruited from the de-addiction department of NIMHANS, and healthy controls will be my friends and public from the general population. So the work goes like this: like day 1 will be patients admitted to the de-addiction center, 1 to 7 will be on benzodiazepine treatment, 8 to 13 will be the washout for benzodiazepine, 14 will be evaluation of cardiac autonomic functions. And day 15 will be assessed with different psychological assessments, like we'll be doing the color trials and Stroop task. And NIMHANS has developed a neuropsychology battery of tests for both alcohol addiction as well as with adult ADHD. And we will be subjecting them to transcranial magnetic stimulation. That's the paid pulse. We'll be assessing the SSRA, that is what was the excitatory and inhibitory network that was there in the brain. Also we will look, and finally we will correlate all the parameters and we'll get a comprehensive idea about how the addicted brain is also affected with the adult ADHD. So very briefly, I would like to go to the physiological significance of the time domain measures. The time domain measures we are assessing here in heart rate variability, or STNN, which will give me an idea about the different sources of variation like respiratory, baroreceptor, thermoregulation and activity. Then SDANN index like will be assessing basically the heart rate, how it diffused in the 5-minute segment, and RMSST, the root mean square of difference of successive RR intervals, and finally the PNN 50. This will give me like how the heart rate variability is varying between the subjects, like comparatively between the three groups. And then we will have an assessment like how the heart is responding, or the heart rate variability is varying between the three groups and which group is the most affected. Coming to the physiological significance of frequency domain measures, this is also a part of the heart rate variability. And here we will be using a software for this, that is given by LabChat 7 and 8 software. Will be assessing the heart rate variability in frequency domain. So this will also give me an idea like either there is a sympathetic dominance in the individual or a parasympathetic dominance. So the previous literature tells about there will be like more of parasympathetically mediated reflexes that are more in alcohol. But as of now, we have no clear idea like in a population with alcohol and the comorbid adult ADHD, what was the effect that's mainly like which wing of autonomic system is dominant. Either it is a parasympathetic or sympathetic. We have no idea till now. So we'll be dealing with it. So this is a very preliminary pilot study I have done with the subjects of nearly 20. So the very preliminary study I was able to make out the heart rate in a group that is alcohol plus ADHD. It's comparatively more compared to the other two groups. Similarly, the healthy controls are showing better the RMSST values, which is shown, which shows implies that their heart is ready to deal with any other sudden reflexive mechanism compared to the alcohol per se group or the comorbid group. So this is also talking about the heart rate variability in frequency domain spectrum, which tells that the total power, that is the variance, is more for healthy controls compared to the adult ADHD and the alcohol dependence per se groups. So here we significantly found that low power is comparatively group compared to the healthy control. So this is in our lab. This was one of the subject. So here we were doing the different autonomic function tests for knowing any dysfunction is associated. So this is Valsalva maneuver, the blowing against the closed glottis. And this one is like hand grip test, this hand grip dynamometer to look into the heart rate and BP changes associated with doing a isometric test, hand grip test. This is like orthostatic test. We'll be assessing like if there is any hypotension associated with the change in the posture, that is from supine to standing. And this is the tilt table test, which will assess the involuntary hypotension if it is present in this population, the most vulnerable to alcohol autonomic dysfunction associated with alcohol dependency. So one of the other parameter we looked into was the transcranial magnetic stimulation. So here I was only interested to look TMS that's as a diagnostic way, and looked into that is the different excitatory, like inhibitory mechanisms that are associated. So in TMS, we have taken 3 parameters, that is SSEA, LSEA, and ICF. So SSEA is short interval intracortical inhibition, and LSE is long interval intracortical inhibition, and ICF is a intracortical facilitation. So these two parameters are telling me what was the inhibitory network in these individuals, and this will equate to a excitatory network. So finally, what I will be doing is like, first I will do this autonomic function testing, then with the TMS, and correlate and compare it, like what correlation we can draw from the disinhibition that was there in TMS that correlated with the dysautonomic regulation that we got it from the HRV. So another parameter was echocardiography. So in this echocardiography, the literature says like alcoholic patients are most prone for heart abnormalities, which is very much implied in the echo that is done to the heart, the cardiac system. So here with the very small group of subjects, we were able to find a difference in the end systolic volume, which is comparatively high in healthy controls compared to the other groups. Maybe if we can increase the number, we will come to a conclusion like, yes, the alcohol and alcohol plus ADHD could be having a effect on the heart functioning compared to the normal subjects. Next parameter we looked into was the behavioral experiment. This was an online software that was available, which help us in understanding the different behavioral spectrum of the patients as well as the healthy controls. That's a go, no go task. And other one is the stop signal reaction task. So here basically the individual will be asked to press a space bar when he sees instruction on the screen. There's a visual instruction says go, he has to press the space bar. If it says no go, he shouldn't press anything. So this will be assessing like what was the reaction time of the subject. And the other paradigm was the stop signal task. Here initially the subject will be trained to press the right arrow mark whenever they says go. Like either you can customize your own protocol. How I customized this one was, I will be showing two different images to the patient. That is, one is an alcoholic bottle that is designed from like normally alcoholic bottle on the screen will design. The other one will be a orange juice bottle, and the other one will be water bottle. So what we will be doing is like intermittently all the three stimuli will be displayed on the screen, and whenever an alcoholic bottle was displayed, the patient should control his emotion to click on the space bar. He should not do anything. He just needs to be keep quiet. And if an orange bottle or a water bottle is seen, he has to click. So this will be randomized, and the patient should be very much attentive to focus on the screen. If he presses for the alcoholic bottle, it will assess and give me two important values. One will be he is like having that craving for that one image that is associated with the reward. Second will be his inhibitory network was less, like he was unable to stop when he has to stop. So this parameter I will be correlating with that of the inhibitory parameters which I assessed from the TMS, and I just wanted to look like is there any correlation between them. So coming to the summary and conclusion of my preliminary study, patients with alcohol use disorder and adult ADHD showed the trends of moderate to severe cardiac autonomic dysfunction, decreased parasympathetic activity, decreased and systolic volume, decreased reaction times. And so we need to recruit more patients to get more clarity on the effects of the pathologies on cardiac excitability measures by transcranial magnetic stimulation. And thus alcohol use disorder and ADHD affect the cardiac autonomic functions and also the reaction times. And the preliminary results suggested that there could be a possible correlation between the cardiac autonomic and neurobehavioral dysfunction between alcohol addiction and adult ADHD compared to the control subjects. So I hope the entire world is suffering with corona the outbreak. So similar with India as well. So we were not able to recruit patients within time. So hope for the best, and the entire world will enter into peace and the COVID goes off. So we'll do our research further way. So here I go. And this is my institute. I'm very thankful for NIMHANS providing me the institute fellowship for continuing my study. Thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm clapping for all the attendees. Thank you. Thank you for your talk. That looks like a very comprehensive and massive undertaking there. If you have any questions, please post them in the Q&A. I'm also watching the YouTube chat, so if you have any questions there, you can post them in the Q&A, just put them there. While we're giving the audience some time to write them down. I was wondering, as you said a few times, this was a pilot study. What are your next steps? So do you have some grand plans for a follow-up on this?
Yeah, so I have written a grant for getting a fellowship for doing it as a genetical study. So I was mostly interested to look into like previously we have done a study which was related to parents who are addicts, like alcohol addicts. Their offsprings at the age of around 8 to 12 years we have taken, and we assessed the cardiac functionality. So to us, to our wonder, we came to know that these kids are also having an autonomic dysfunction and cardiac abnormality at that age group, even though they are not addicted. So there is a very strong genetic makeup that is making them to develop this substance abuse when they become adolescents or adults. So yeah, this once I get my grant, I would be interested to take out the blood sample and do more genetic studies, so that I think it will be useful, like in putting an eye on these kids before they develop any other addiction. That's my plan for next.
Great, thank you. So in the interest of time, we're gonna